It is not a good time in American politics. In days like these, we need to look for cooperation wherever we can find it. Luckily for us, there is a big bipartisan push happening right now when it comes to wildlife in the United States. It addresses a problem that is actually global in nature, and it has to do with migratory animals. In a February report from the United Nations Environment Program, 44% of migratory animals worldwide are in decline, though some of them are improving. More than 1 in 5 of the species listed in the Convention on the Conservation of Migratory Species of Wild Animals is threatened with extinction. Additionally, 51% of key biodiversity areas identified as important for CMS-listed migratory animals do not have protected status. The problem exists here in the United States as well. Animals in the U.S. normally migrate seasonally in search of food or for mating. For land animals, this can be hazardous as the landscape has been carved up by human development, with long stretches of highways that can be very dangerous to animals. Wildlife crossings have become very popular and seem to be pretty effective when combined with adequate fencing, but these projects tend to be very localized in nature. What is needed is a more comprehensive approach that goes beyond local boundaries. It seems that the issue has made its way into the halls of Congress with the introduction of the Wildlife Movement Through Partnerships Act. The bipartisan measure was introduced to the U.S. House of Representatives by Republican Ryan Zinke of Montana and Democrat Don Beyer of Virginia. In the Senate, a companion bill was introduced by California Democrat Alex Padilla. Wildlife across the country face additional barriers to their migration, threatening the vibrant biodiversity of our nation and putting human lives at risk, said Senator Padilla. From the sprawling urban wilderness of Griffith Park to the greater Yellowstone ecosystem to the Atlantic Flyway, protecting wildlife corridors is a crucial bipartisan priority, and I am glad to work across the aisle to better conserve, restore, and enhance habitat connectivity and migration routes across the nation. This legislation will seek to address migratory animal problems in a few key ways. The first is through wildlife movement and movement area grants. This grant program will support projects to lease habitat, modify fences, reduce collisions, and conserve lands to reduce barriers to wildlife movements in areas recognized as important by a state or tribe. Grants will be awarded competitively, with preference given to national or regional priorities and to projective involving partners. A bare minimum of 50% of funds will go to help big game such as deer, elk, pronghorn, wild sheep, and moose. The bill stipulates that actions taken will protect valid existing and private rights, military readiness, private property, public access, and the authority or jurisdiction of states and tribes. Secondly, a state and tribal migration research program will support research by state governments and tribes into how to identify and manage wildlife migrations and movements. This program will provide direct support for these studies. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services Partners for Fish and Wildlife Program, which supports wildlife migration and habitat connectivity work, will be reauthorized by this bill. The U.S. Geological Survey's Corridor Mapping Team supports wildlife movement work by states, tribes, and other federal agencies by applying science and mapping expertise to corridors and migrations. This bill would ensure this essential work continues. This bill, if passed, will not solve all the problems facing the nation's wildlife. Invasive species, a changing climate, and extreme weather are still challenges, but it has gained support from a wide range of organizations, some of which don't always agree on every issue. And if implemented, it could be a step in the right direction. And the animals will be quite appreciative every step of the way during their long migratory journeys. Don't stop here. Find out more. Visit the links in the description below for more in-depth information on the stories presented in this video.